Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere believers, which includes the scattered Israelites who are amongst these other nations and look like these other nations. Now, this lesson is going to be based around the fact that there is no peace unto the wicked. So Adawan Ratazah, you find this lesson edifying. So Isaiah 48:22, there is no peace, saith the Lord Yahweh, unto the wicked. And that's right. These wicked people, whether they're here in America or anywhere else in the world, they're not experiencing any peace. The hits just keep coming. Like it says in 2 Ezra 8:50, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. And the Lord is sending those great miseries. Storms, tempests, fires, earthquakes. The cost of living increasing. People can't afford to pay their rent. They can't afford to pay their bills. They can't afford groceries. They can't afford to put gas in their car. A lot of people can't even afford a car. They can't afford to buy new clothes. They can't afford to go on vacation. They can't afford to go hang out with their friends and party and drink. They can't afford anything. These people, they're working 2 or 3 jobs. They're working all these hours, not getting any sleep. It's just, the hits just keep coming. And if you go on social media, especially on TikTok, people are about ready to crash out. They're about ready to lose their mind. Because there is no relief. They can't catch a break. But then when you're a spiritually minded person, you understand why. And it's because these people, they're wicked. They're getting tattoos and they're doing drugs and they're drinking too much when they can. And they're partying too much when they can. And they're eating abominable foods, like pork and shrimp and lobster. They're dyeing their hair all sorts of crazy colors, and, they're just doing all sorts of just madness and wickedness. And it angers the Lord. And the men of the Lord, starting, of course, with the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, have been warning these people that all of that wickedness, all of that wicked, degenerate activity that they've been partaking in, it was going to come back to bite them. And now we are in that time where it has come back to bite them. These people, they were running around disregarding the warnings of the men of the Lord. And now that they're suffering, now they're crying out for answers. The men of the Lord, however, have been giving you answers. You just weren't listening. And now, every day something is happening. Now every day the judgments of the Lord are being brought upon these people. And that's because, like it says in Psalm 7:11, Yahweh judgeth the righteous, and Yahweh is angry with the wicked every day. And that's right. These wicked men, these wicked women, and these wicked children, just running around doing all sorts of wickedness, being all sorts of vile and degenerate and proud and arrogant. So the Lord, he's angry. These people on a daily basis provoke the Lord unto wrath. And now they're finding out what happens when you do that. See, the Lord is the last one that you want to anger. And these people, they have utterly angered the Lord. And so now they're getting punished. What is this scripture? Proverbs 22:3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. And that's right, because through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, those of us of the hopeful elect, we've been blessed with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures. So we're able to foresee these evils that are going to come. The famines, the pestilences, the civil wars, the race wars, the world war, just the absolute chaos that's about to consume the earth. And we're hiding ourselves under the hedge of protection of the Lord. But these simple people, these wicked people, they're just passing on. They're just going on about their life, not a care in the world, partying, eating abominable foods, getting tattoos, doing drugs, being sexual deviants, just doing the usual nonsense. Even though the men of the Lord, through these videos and out there on the highways and hedges, have been warning these people, letting them know, like, hey, we're in the last days. All of that wickedness you're doing, you better calm it down. But these people, they didn't want to calm it down. They wanted to get worse. They wanted to wax more and more wicked and more vile and degenerate. And now they're being punished for it. And they're crying because they don't like it. But the Lord doesn't like you doing wickedness. And what the Lord wants matters infinitely times more than what you want. So basically, as things are getting worse, because we are in the last days, and like it says in Luke 21:22, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So everything that's happening, the fires, the storms, the tempests, the earthquakes, the cost of living just skyrocketing, the division amongst the people, the love of many waxing cold, all of these things. These are all signs of the last days. And like I said, all of these things, they're the judgments of the Lord. I believe out there in the Midwest or in the South or both, the Lord, he's been sending some tornadoes out there, causing a lot of destruction. So it really is just one thing after another. You got people's houses burning down. You got people getting laid off left and right. Like it's just one hit after another. And these people, they don't understand why these things are happening. They don't understand that this is the judgment of the Lord. These are the punishments that the men of the Lord told them was going to be happening to them if they did not stop with all that wickedness. So Isaiah 33:6, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is his treasure. Yeah, so those of us of the hopeful elect, we have that wisdom and knowledge of these scriptures that's keeping us stable in these times, because we understand why all the events that are taking place are happening. We understand why, the Russia-Ukraine war is happening. We understand why the Iran versus the U.S.-Israel war is happening. We understand why the cost of living is skyrocketing. We understand why, there's so many storms and tempests and fires and earthquakes happening and shootings and stabbings happening. We understand why things are just getting more and more out of control. Because we are in the last days. We are in a time of judgment. We are in a time where the Lord is going to visit this world and visit all of these wicked people with judgments for their constant iniquities and their wickedness. They thought everything was sweet. They refused to heed the warnings of the men of the Lord. And like I said, now you got people crying all over social media talking about how they wish they could go back to the way things were 15, 20 years ago, when they were younger and the world just seemed more peaceful and they could just run around and party and do all of that without a care in the world. But because the Lord is really putting a stranglehold on all of that, and these people can't partake in it like they used to, they're forced to just sit there and deal with all the punishments and the struggles that they're going through. They don't like it. Like the amount of people, especially women, that I've seen on social media crying about how, it's just too much for them. A lot of people have to work 2 or 3 jobs and crazy long hours. And it's still not enough. It's not enough for them to be able to pay their rent, pay their bills, go grocery shopping, put gas in their car if they even have one. They can't even buy a car if they don't have one. They can't go on vacations. If they want to buy new stuff, they can't afford to. They can't buy a new house. A lot of people having to move in with their family, back in with their family members, with their parents, or move in with a bunch of other people that they don't know. Life is getting a lot harder for these people. And they have no wisdom, no knowledge, and no understanding as to why this is happening. And when you try to explain to them why it's happening, they still will resist that. They'll still fight you on that. And it's like, this is why you are in the position that you're in, because you just don't listen. These people, they're defiant, they're stubborn, they're hard-headed. So it's like, there is no helping these people. The best thing you can do as somebody of the hopeful elect is just get away from these people, because the Lord is just going to keep piling on the judgments, and these people, eventually they are going to crash out. They're going to lose their mind. They're going to go on a killing spree. They're going to do some murder suicide type thing. They're probably going to burn something down or something. And instead of these people acknowledging that it's their own wickedness that's getting them put in these positions, they're going to blame everybody else. Especially here in America, people are not taught to take accountability. You know that old saying, if you point a finger at somebody, there's more fingers pointing back at you. So you're always more to blame than the people you're trying to blame. And that's what these wicked people don't understand. They're the problem. The men of the Lord have been warning these people and letting them know, like, hey, you're being wicked. And the Lord does not approve of that. And if you keep it up, the Lord, he's going to punish you. He's going to judge you. But either one, these people, they have been going up in these harlot houses for years, aka these churches, and they've been lied to and told, oh yeah, the Lord, he's good all the time and he loves everybody. So basically they've made the Lord seem like he's soft. you know. So people don't fear the Lord. They're like, oh, no matter what I do, the Lord is just gonna let that slide. Or, these people, they're atheists. They don't even believe that the Lord exists. So you got one side of people who think the Lord is soft and he's, never going to judge them or punish them for their wickedness. And then you have the other side who doesn't even believe that the Lord exists in the first place. So just a whole bunch of wicked, simple-minded people. These people, they have no fear of the Lord. But the Lord, he's starting to put that fear in them. Because he's bringing so much judgment upon them and upon the earth in general. And these people, they just don't know what to do. Like right now with this whole U.S., Israel, and Iran war that's happening, there's a lot of people trapped in other countries out there in the quote-unquote Middle East. And they can't get out. All hell is breaking loose and they can't get out. They want to come back to America or wherever they're from, but they can't. The airports are locked down. So it's like, yeah, now people are scared because one minute they're partying and living it up in Dubai or wherever, and then all hell starts breaking loose and they want to leave, but they can't. So now they gotta stay there and, stick it out basically and just hope that they don't get hit. This is the type of situation that the Lord will place you in when you anger him. This is what's happening to these wicked people. And this is just another example as to why those of us of the hopeful elect, we don't want to anger the Lord. Because we don't want to get caught up in these situations. First Peter 3:12. For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. And that's right. So when those of us of the hopeful elect send up prayers to the Lord and we ask for more wisdom, knowledge, understanding, protection, guidance, comfort, the Lord, he hears that. His ears are open unto our prayers. But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. So when these people start praying, quote unquote, the Lord is not listening to them. Because majority of these people, they're going to be calling on Jesus, and that's not the Lord's name. So they're calling on a false name. And even if they did know the true names of the Lord, the Heavenly Father and his Son, it wouldn't be genuine. Their prayers wouldn't be genuine. They would only be doing that because they're going through some affliction right now. And they just want the affliction to stop so that they can go back to being wicked. That's really what it is. These people, they don't feel bad for the wickedness that they've done or the wickedness that they're doing. They just don't want to be punished for it. And the Lord, he knows that. He knows your heart. He knows your mind. He knows whether you're sincere or not. And majority of these people are the farthest thing from being sincere. So when they start trying to pray to the Lord and ask him to, make their life better, make it easier, take all the stress off of their life, he's not going to listen to them. he's going to ignore them, and he's just going to keep applying that pressure. He's going to keep sending those judgments and those many great miseries upon them. Don't be surprised if you see a major uptick in suicides, people just taking themselves out because they can't handle it. But that in and of itself is the judgment of the Lord, because like it says in Deuteronomy 32 and 39, see now that even I am he, and there is no power with me. I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal, neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So when people commit suicide, even though they're doing it by their own hand, basically the Lord put the spirit on them to do that. So it's the Lord who really killed them. He's the one who took them out of here. He's the one that put all of that pressure and all of that stress upon them to make them even think like that. And that's because these people are wicked. The Lord is angry with them every day. See, the Lord, he's never been playing with these people. The Lord has never been soft like these people think. And through his judgments, the Lord is showing that. He's proven that. He's proven that he's been paying attention to these people. He's been watching them just be wicked. And it's been angering him. And the very thing that the men of the Lord have been warning these people was going to happen if they didn't stop with all of that wickedness is now happening. And it's going to get a whole lot worse out here. So, these people, they're ready to crash out and lose their mind. And the Lord really hasn't even opened the floodgates on them yet. The Lord is just giving them a taste of judgment, of punishment. And they're already losing their mind. Just wait until the Lord cranks things up a couple more notches. These people are not ready for it. These people, they have no wisdom, no knowledge, no understanding. They have no hedge of protection. They're just going to have to suffer these judgments. They have to suffer their punishments. Because there's that old saying, actions speak louder than words. The Lord has been using his men to talk to the people, to warn them. That's the words. But because the people didn't want to take heed to the words, now the action is following. That's when the judgments start kicking in. The Lord was like, okay, you don't want to listen. So now the hits are going to start coming. And that's what we see. People just getting hit nonstop, 24/7, 365, with all different kinds of judgments. And they deserve every bit of it. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakudash, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, for putting his spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are still fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere believers, which once again includes the Israelites who are scattered amongst these other nations and look like these other nations. I hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up in Adawan Ratazah, which means Lord's will. Until next time, Shalom.